Chapter 16. The airport buzzed around Aadhira with life. Families embracing, couples whispering promises, travelers rushing to catch their flights. Yet amid all the warmth, her heart felt painfully cold. Standing near the departure gate, suitcase at her side, she felt achingly alone. 1 year. A year of passionate arguments, fiery confrontations, and stolen glances that held too much meaning. And yet, after all the heartache and hope, she'd found herself at the very place she'd vowed never to reach, the bitter end. Aadhira's gaze blurred as she stared at the boarding pass trembling between her fingers. She had given Rudra every possible chance, desperately wanting him to choose her, not out of obligation or control, but simply because he loved her. Yet, as she waited to board her flight, that chance seemed lost forever. Suddenly, a murmur rippled through the crowd, voices rising in excitement and curiosity. Aadhira looked up sharply, her breath catching at the sight before her. Rudra stormed through the terminal, urgency radiating from his every movement. His immaculate suit was creased, his hair tousled, eyes wild with determination. For once, Raichand didn't care about appearances or consequences. His sole focus was on her. Aadhira froze in place, heart racing uncontrollably, as he pushed his way past startled travelers, closing the distance between them. "Rudra," she whispered in disbelief. He didn't hesitate. Without a word, he reached for her, pulling her firmly into his embrace. The crowd quieted, every gaze now fixed upon the passionate spectacle. Aadhira trembled as Rudra held her close, feeling the furious rhythm of his heartbeat matching her own. "Aadhira," he breathed raggedly, his voice thick with emotion. "If you walk away, you take my heart with you." Tears welled in her eyes at the raw honesty in his words. But she shook her head, afraid to trust his sincerity. "You don't love me, Rudra," she whispered, voice cracking as pain rippled through her. "You just hate losing." He cupped her face tenderly, lifting her gaze to his. His eyes were bright, vulnerable, filled with an intensity she'd never seen before. "I was a fool," he admitted softly, thumb gently brushing away a tear. "I fought so hard against needing you. I convinced myself it was just possessiveness, just pride. But I was wrong, Aadhira. I don't just need you, I love you." His voice broke on the last words, sincerity radiating from every syllable. The airport around them faded away, leaving only his earnest eyes holding hers captive. Yet, despite her heart's desperate longing, a flicker of doubt lingered stubbornly. "Rudra," she murmured shakily, voice heavy with exhaustion and hope. "Do you even understand what you're saying? Love isn't just needing someone or controlling them. It's trust, honesty. And I will spend every single day proving that to you," he interrupted fiercely, determination blazing in his eyes. Then, without hesitation, Rudra dropped to one knee right in the bustling airport, causing audible gasps to ripple through the watching crowd. "Aadhira Varma Raichand," he declared loudly, voice steady and strong despite the vulnerability etched deeply in his expression. "Marry me again, not for business, not out of duty, but because you love me too." The sincerity in his plea resonated deeply within her. The crowd held its collective breath, every heartbeat echoing the intensity of this moment. Aadhira gazed down at him, her vision blurred by fresh tears, her heart swelling with overwhelming warmth. For so long she'd waited for him to speak these words, not with arrogance or possessiveness, but with true humility and love. And now, here he knelt, openly vulnerable, offering his heart entirely to her. A small, radiant smile finally broke through her tears. "Took you long enough," she whispered softly, affection mingling with relief and joy. The crowd erupted into cheers and applause as Rudra surged to his feet, pulling her tightly into his arms, a broad smile transforming his face. He leaned down, capturing her lips in a kiss filled with passion, apology, and the promises of forever. Aadhira melted into his embrace, finally trusting in the genuine love she felt radiating from him. For the first time, there were no hidden motives, no lingering doubts, only the blissful certainty of his devotion. When they finally broke apart, Rudra rested his forehead against hers, eyes soft with emotion. "I canceled the meeting with Malhotra Enterprises to come here," he admitted quietly, eyes twinkling. "Do you realize how much money that deal was worth?" Aadhira laughed softly, warmth flooding her chest. "You really did that?" His gaze softened further, seriousness returning as he touched her face gently. No business, no amount of money, will ever matter more than you. You are my heart, Aadhira, my everything. Tears filled her eyes again, but this time, they were tears of happiness. She reached up, gently placing her hand on his cheek, savoring the warmth of his touch. I love you, Rudra, she whispered, heart overflowing with joy. Always. His smile was radiant, eyes shining with the love she'd longed to see. And I love you. Always. Around them, strangers continued to cheer, capturing their reunion with delighted smiles and whispers of approval. But for Rudra and Aadhira, the airport had faded into insignificance, leaving only their shared promise. From this day forward, their love was no longer bound by contracts or obligations. It was a love freely chosen, willingly given and passionately cherished. It was a vow that truly mattered, one made from the heart. As Rudra threaded his fingers through hers, leading her away from the departure gate, Aadhira finally knew she had found her home. Not in a place, but in the arms of the man who had once been her greatest challenge, now transformed into the love of her life. Together, they stepped forward into their future. A future filled with laughter, understanding, and the kind of love that was always worth fighting for. Forever.